today's toy haul, I'm going to be reviewing 4 more figures. Marvel's Falcon from the Joe Fixit line. I also got Sabretooth from the Bonebreaker line. Phastos from the Eternals line. And finally, I've got Sprite. I could have reviewed the last 2 of the Eternals figure as well too, but I personally just needed a break from this line. Just because, I don't know why, but just something about like their designs just does not bring me a lot of joy, save for like a few of them. So yeah, let's get these open and yeah. So we're going to be opening up Sprite first. Opening up Sprite. She also comes with that Eternals background where it's kind of boring in the back, so not for me. I don't know a lot about this actor. I just know I wanted the torso of Gilgamesh. This is the 4th piece for me. I'll leave it to the side. And Sprite, let's get her out. Somehow they made her hands the hardest thing to get out. They actually covered up the hands with tape to like make sure they don't go anywhere. So her additional attachments are 2 fists, which is a little boring just because that's what a lot of the other Eternals come with. Well, these Eternals, they don't really come with a lot of effects, so that's definitely on the disappointing side. I think the only ones that really came with the effects were Icarus as well as Kingo. Kingo had the finger pistols. Alright, so first glance at Sprite. Good shoulder articulation. Ooh, can go up to 90. Only one. Okay, there it goes. Can go up to 90. Shoulders look like they would couldn't go in. I think it's because if you look kind of closely, the torso limbs has like some area protruding out where it's like scraping against the other shoulder because it's also sticking out a little bit. So this figure can get a lot of wear and tear easily. Elbow's really loose on her for her figure. This figure also does that weird wavy thing that Cersei has too. I think hers is a little bit more acceptable just because her hair doesn't do it. Clearly a lot of articulation for that. Plus, this is more of like a cape, so you can this is easily more adjustable. Same thing with this one as well. Good hip and good knee bends. It does that weird 90-degree flat, and it definitely looks weird on this figure. I will let it slide. I think it makes for some interesting poses with this character design in mind. Overall, I would say this is definitely not a bad figure. A lot of good designs and a lot of great detail too. Some things I'm noticing in comparison to the artwork that's on the back. It looks like they tried doing it in the chest where it's that same teal look, but they made it a little bit more kind of incorporated with the silver, so it's like that hybrid. And it looks like the other parts of her outfit would have been the same way too, but they stuck to just 2 flat colors. I'm surprised that on her calf area there's like some words on it, some extra details, so that's a nice touch. Like, even though they added some extra details to it, if you look at her back ankles, you can tell where they clipped the runners off from the mold. I like the figure. The figure's good. I think there's some production quality problems with this figure though, but I like this figure. Good. So really quickly, I forgot to mention this, but for Sprite, I picked her up for $7.50. I would say she's pretty good for that price type. Next figure I'm going to open up, just because I really want to see the size comparison. I'm going to open up Sabretooth. Nice big X-Men. I don't think you can see it, but there's a big X on this paper. So Sabretooth doesn't actually come with any attachments. He only comes with the build-apart figures for Bonebreaker. They actually look like cool pieces. Bonebreaker was definitely a figure I did want to build, and from that line I did really want to pick up Siren, but she was never on clearance at the appropriate price I wanted to get her at. And then all the other ones like Maggot as well as Darwin didn't really show up as often as I would have liked. Havoc was damn near impossible to find, and I did see Vulcan quite a few times. So again, he doesn't come with any attachments save for the build-apart figures, but opening it up and at first glance, he seems like a really fun and solid figure. He can go up to that far. Needs a bit of push, a lot of resistance, but he does get that 90-degree bend for the good elbow bending. The claws are a lot of fun just because of how pointy and sharp they are. And then for Sabretooth, if I recall, I got him for maybe $12. And honestly, I would say he's a pretty good figure. He feels really good in hand. He like fairly heavy. He gets a lot of hip movement. That's good. He also gets that weird 90-degree bend, but for some reason I'm more okay with his 90-degree bend. I think it's just because his figure requires a bit more dexterity, I suppose. I like his claws and as well as his feet. They're very detailed, a lot more than I thought they would be. So there's a bit of like separation with the regular plastic on his body to the hairy parts. The hairy parts are like using like soft plastics, which definitely feels like really nice to touch, especially when it's like separated. So for a 12, I think I got this figure for like 12 bucks. For 12 bucks, I would say he's a pretty good figure. I would have liked more accessories with him. Ooh, he even has some ankle swiveling thing too. That's good. Yeah, I would say this is a pretty good figure for $12. Very fun. Aside from the accessory parts, I think for me, this wouldn't be like my favorite type of Sabretooth design. For whatever reason, I was kind of like, when I imagine Sabretooth, I imagine Sabretooth to be more brawlier, more bigger, but he seems like he's only like maybe one body size up from like Wolverine. I would imagine him to be bigger for some reason. I don't know why. Still a really good figure. It's just a design that I'm not totally sold on, but I like the figure a lot though. Right, so for the next figure I'm going to review, I'm going back to the Eternals line. All right, let's open up Phastos. So I bought Phastos for $6.99, which I believe was the same price for Sprite. Phastos was definitely the one that was easier to find of the bunch. For me, I can kind of tell that Sprite would be a kind of a rare figure to get from the line, just because one, at least with her body, there's a lot of room for customization. At least with Phastos though, I don't think there was a lot of room for that. So let's take a look. Let's get him out of the box. I might keep the box just because I am a fan of the actor. So he comes with the left foot, as well as he also comes with his own set of fist hands with his skin tone. Such a boring accessory. So here's Phastos' figure. At first glance, I definitely am not a fan of the, I guess you can say it's almost like a dress shirt or dress, just because of how ankly it is. At least with them giving Phastos a bit more space, he does get more hip movement and leg movement than even Kingo as well as Druid, so that's a plus. Design wise, at first glance too, there's a lot of details they put onto his outfit, which is really cool. Definitely can move his shoulders up quite a bit. That's good. The left one's a lot harder to do than his right, from what I'm nosing. Ooh, I don't know why that looks weird. When you're playing with him, be really careful when you're playing with his shoulders, just because of that separation piece between the shoulder joint and then the, I guess, the bicep. It looks like it can break really easily, because I was already kind of seeing that when I was moving it up and down. It looks a lot thinner than on Sabretooth, so that's not good. I don't know why, maybe it's just how they designed this figure, but he looks like he's at like a weird lopsided, like his head's like bent this way, and even when I fix it, it looks like his figure is like more left-sided. I can't tell, because when you straighten it out like that, it still seems like it's more leaning towards the left. Yeah, so interesting torso movement if it's causing the weight of the figure to shift to one side versus the other. The leg design actually looks really cool in Phastos with this color, just because you see a lot of the details, so that's cool. He gets that ankle swiveling, so that's awesome as well too. Oh yeah, see, look, when I have it aligned, like the metal, you can totally see that his body is more shifted towards the left a little bit. I would say this figure is maybe just okay, just because there's a lot more room for like posability and stuff and whatnot. It just bothers me with the design balance, seems so out of place. Potentially even, I would say this figure has like a lot of room for like taking for custom parts too, so that's cool. Do I like this figure more than Sprite? That's a tough one. Oh, here's the height in comparison. So overall, I would say maybe Phastos is, I think his figure is good. I think I like him a lot more than Kingo, so that's why I would say he's more in the good range, despite all of the very bad design problems that his figure has. $7.50 or $6.89 before tax. It is a good figure for that type. So for my last and final figure, I'm going to be reviewing Falcon. All right, so Falcon is definitely the figure that I'm most excited about, just because I don't have one at all in my collection. You know, he just looks super patriotic and stuff. I dig it. I will admit though, the version that I found at the I bought him for $10 at Ross. The problem I think I was okay with at the time was that this figure does have like a lot of paint blemishes that I would have to essentially resolve one day, but I think for now I'm fine with it. It's actually really cool. His wings are actually on a separate piece of plastic runner, so that's cool. Also, when I was looking for a Falcon figure, I was really disappointed that Sam Wilson, Captain America, his freaking wings were part of a Build-A-Figure line, which is absolutely stupid. Like, it really is. All right, so let's really quickly assemble this figure. I think that would help it a lot. Huh. Was this figure supposed to come with a backpack? No, right? I will say this right now, getting these wings on are a pain in the butt. Just because one, it feels like these wings, like pushing them into like the little allotment slots, it feels like it's like meeting a lot of resistance. And I could imagine putting so much pressure onto these wings, they're gonna lose some of their durability over time. Oh, I just realized I should have had this next to me, so at least I can kind of see what I'm building towards. I guess I'm not a fan of like the wings being on the shoulders. I think that's just a comic book design. So I guess I definitely like the design for the MCU where they make it more of a backpack. And it's weird because you can actually tell that that this figure has a spot in the back where something could go there. So it's messing up with my brain a little bit. So when I was putting on the figures, I did notice that this figure did have some decent shoulder joints. He is also kind of in that same boat too, where I feel like his bicep area feels like it could come off at any moment if I'm not careful. The first thing I noticed when it came to this figure is that there is a huge like design flaw, and it's in the red on the shoulder joints is a different hue than from the rest of the body. So it's again, messing up with my brain. Good hip movement, good knee joints. The leg does that problem that I don't like with these figures. That's disappointing. No ankle swiveling. In comparison to the other figures that I have right now, in terms of that knee bending, his feels weirdly like the most unorganic. After taking off his arms, his Falcon's elbows definitely became a lot looser in the end. And man, more as I'm about to put on these other new hands, you can kind of really tell that the paint blemishes on this figure are really bad. And also, I realized that when it's taking off the hands, it's a lot easier to take off the Falcon wings first. Having to take off the wings, I think I realized I put them on wrong, so I'm trying to do a better job at matching up with the design in mind. It's really hard though. There we go, that looks better. Yeah, I like the open hand palms a bit more. I guess I don't really know how to review this figure just because I don't know how to pose him, I suppose. That's cool. This figure also, I think this is an older design of the Marvel Legends where inside the shoulder there's also like this rotator cup. I think they eventually eliminated this or they opted not to use this anymore. Interesting. If you're buying your first Falcon figure, not a bad choice. Plus, I think it's interesting to see figures like this in terms of like being able to shove in like the wings parts of the figure. I know definitely it has problems with it just because figures like that wear down a lot quicker over time. Definitely not bad. I definitely like this figure enough where despite all of his shortcomings, it's pretty good. I need like a base stand for him though. Overall, I opened up 4 different figures and I want to say all of these figures had a problem with it essentially. So starting off with Sprite, I think the figure was pretty good for $750. Definitely this figure does have like a lot of opportunities to do some customizations for it, so that's not a bad thing. Figure does feel pretty good overall for like the class size. I definitely enjoy this figure. It's good. Definitely one of the better figures from the Eternals line. Sabretooth figure does feel like a great figure in general. Figure overall feels really great. I personally am not a big fan of this type of design of Sabretooth Tiger. I would prefer one that's a bit more on the bulkier side, but definitely not a bad figure. Definitely a great figure. And I think that's just one of the great things about these newer and newer Marvel Legends, that they get better toy designs in general. So yeah. Phastos is definitely a good figure from what I've seen so far in the other Marvel Legends Eternals line. His figure design does have obviously a lot of problems just because one, it feels like it sways a little bit more to the left of his body. I would just qualify that as being bad toy design. Details wise, this one definitely has the best details of all the Eternals in terms of like being able to capture all that gold coating on it, as well as the figure's head looks exactly like the actor, so that's great. He definitely has the best male legs from the Eternals line. So from what I've opened so far, because I don't own Icarus, so overall I would say first he's also a good figure too. And then lastly, Falcon. My Falcon just has a lot of problems with it, but he overall is not a bad figure. Clearly an older design because of the, you can see the, I guess, shoulder blade pectoral area movement. Some of the design aspects are just so on the old side that I'm not a fan of, like the wing aspect. Mine had a lot of like paint blemishes and problems to begin with, so that's a huge downside. But the figure itself, as I would say, is actually pretty good. Good, great, good, good. All right. And yeah, Sabretooth definitely was the favorite of my bunch. So that's about it in regards to this toy haul. If you guys liked it, feel free to like the video as well as subscribe to my channel. It definitely goes a long way knowing that I have people that are enjoying my content. And feel free to tell me which of these 4 figures was your favorite. Feel free to tell me how you guys feel overall about the Eternals movie or the characters. And as always, I will see you guys for the next one. Bye!